Hey, this is Tom, Zero Pass coming at you with discussion, deck profile. So Chicago was this last weekend. I was there. I played both premium and I played standard as well. For standard, I played deleter bind. So that's not what I'm going to focus on today, but I just wanted to kind of talk about it. So day one, I played with 4 docking, 4 waving, a couple Schwarzschild, and I basically played with bind cards. Just thought I'd turn the dryer off there. I know sometimes that's in my videos. And I played a bunch of bind cards, which you'll actually see in my premium deck. In particular, I was using Drowned, of course, with my deleters. Really free card. Didn't run him. This is Messiah, didn't run Messiah. Just gonna see if there's anything else in there I was running. Was running 7 draw, which actually I think worked really well. I trolled with him as my starter. So, yeah. And so, just new stuff, waiting to build. I'll be bringing more new Batama to you. Managed to get this nice marker out of 10 boxes that I opened. Yeah, so this is not my trade binder, this is my deck building binder. Anyhow, just kind of wanted to show that there. So what I want to bring to you today, first off I want to say I built this deck the night before premium. I had Chaos Breaker in my deck bag, and I was thinking about just running it because I enjoy it. It's a good reason to play a deck, right? Because you enjoy it. However, the level of competition is pretty high. It's something like a BCS regional, so I decided to build something from scratch. So the regional was my dry run. And my matches, you'll see the deck here in a minute. My first match was against OTT, which the deck was built for, as well as Bermuda, it was built for that. I almost got the guy. OTT is supposed to be a first stride kill, right? Wrong. This deck forced that opponent to stride probably at least 6 times. Really kept that player at bay. The only reason he won, double heal. Had, I believe, 6 cards left in deck. And yeah, double heal wins. Heal. So with that said, the next match was Kagero, I won. Murakami, I won. Played against DIs, he damage denied me, which made me rethink the game and how I played it. Maybe I should have played it a little differently. He got me, he got his explosive turn off. It was pretty glorious to watch. And then I played against Ripples. Pretty cool, right? Ripples. And I won that. And then my next match was Luard, Morfessa. This is another game where I think just, if I had actually been able to play test this deck and played against Shadow Paladin, which is probably, if not arguably, the best deck in Premium, at least one of them, one of the top 3, I would say. May have actually been able to get through that one. I think instead of staying on my grade 3, if I'd actually strode into one of my strides here, and I'll talk about in a second, actually locked their front rows and then used the PG I still had in hand, I would have at least bought myself a turn. So yeah. Then I went to my 7th round. I had no opponent, and I ended up dropping. We did have 9 rounds, I found out later on. I knew I wasn't going to get in the top 8, but gosh, the guy that I lost to in the first match got 10th place. So, he climbed pretty high. So I'm not really sure what I would have gotten. But again, this deck, be gentle in the comments if there are any. Be gentle with the dislikes if there are any, because this really was theory crafted. It was played, and I was pretty happy how it worked. First round I lost. Next 2 rounds I won. Next round I lost. Next round I won. Next round I lost. It's not too bad. It's like 50%. Dry run. And I really wasn't sure how this is going to work. So the whole idea of the deck is spot remove problems and use a mechanic that's only available to us in standard, which is Brandt. So as one of my opponents, or not one of my opponents, as one of my friends said, they really like my bad idea. However, I challenge whether or not it's really that bad of an idea. Maybe it is. However, my first round again, I went up against what it was built against for and lost to RNG. So the interesting thing about Brandt is that you pressure real hard your G2 game. You're going to see the rest of the deck here in a moment, how you spot remove problems like Shizuku, starters, things like that from the table using bind. And you hide behind this. I will say 2 of my games I won using Stark. Okay, so there's that too. So I ran straight up Brandt, 100% Brandt. There are no other grade 3s in the deck, although I think in hindsight that's a mistake, and I'll show you why. I'm gonna go in reverse here. Grade 2 lineup. I haven't looked at this deck since I got back, really, maybe for a little bit. Is all these wonderful bind Vanguard rear guards. So all these units put pressure on my opponent. Decisions and just straight up bind. This actually was very useful in premium. This was very useful in my G2 game. And I would reride, because now we're working on getting into stride, right? So you can reride to try to stall. This was pressuring. I found pure deleters, this was subpar. And I ran 2 of them. And before the tournament, I had been playing at locals and actually winning my locals last 2 weeks before. I didn't run this guy, but I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just try this out. It wasn't really that great. But for premium, absolutely, we're going for the long game, longer game, because you're gonna stride, hopefully. This actually was very, very useful. Both days I ran 1. This card is really good if you write it. If you don't write it, you don't want a hand filled with this. You'll have no soul. You need soul. This burns through soul. Okay. This card's amazing. For those of you who play Magic, I also play Magic. This reminds me of a Magic card. Spot removal. Okay. You just put this into play, Soul Blast 1, remove a problem. It's kind of like this guy. You attack, remove a problem. These decisions have to be made. So, very, very good card. Removes Forerunners. This card, anti-excel. Is it that useful in premium? Yeah, you have Ezel, and that's really why it's in here, and I put it up to 4. Was for that match. I never played against that match though. So I have the draw drop PG. I like it. It allows me to have more crits, and if I ride this, it's great. One of the reasons I like this is because I'm only running these 4 grade 3s, and then I go right up to grade 4. So, real risky, right? But I think I had 1 game I had to G-assist. And again, I was sticking in the grade 2 game for a little bit, some of my games, so it really wasn't a problem. What else would I put in here? Maybe a short shell, just so I have spot removal. I could consider running 1 or 2 of those. You could run Gradle as well as a first ride, which sounds really funny, but it's doing exactly the same thing that Schwarzschild does. When you ride Schwarzschild as an act, you can bind one of their cards. Gradle, it's an on-ride effect. That actually is better in premium. If you happen to get them later, you can actually on-ride, delete, bind, but then the other thing is they can't move their cards. So if you're really dwindling down your opponent, you know, that's one thing I'm thinking about. Just maybe 1 Gradle to help kind of flush this out. There's another grade 3 I want to talk about here in a minute too that may be helpful. So heals, of course. We put in a couple of our new crit. Unfortunately, they're not foil like the rest. are wonderfully foiled, including our wonderful Bushiroad premium set. I love it. AKA Fighters Collection 2019. Love it. It's a great card. If you G-guard, it's great because then you're at GB1. If you're still on this, punishing your opponent when you attack, you can still use this, right? Just remember, you can use this even if you didn't stride. Just gotta be GB1. My G-zone has changed since I came back. I should say that is the one thing I did do this deck right as I got home. I was a little frustrated with it. The Link Joker G-zone, the Link Joker G-zone, if you just go full up Link Jokers, it's kind of a problem because, if, for example, Lactus Carina, you're going to use this most of the time merely to just try to get up to GB3 so you can Stark, which I actually did. This isn't Chaos Breaker or Messiah, so you're not going to really benefit from this by unlocking your opponent's cards because you're not locking your opponent's cards usually, although you can. There are cards in here that do it. I've since put in Dismal over Cosmo Wreath, the Guardian, and also Ractome or a Gleam, either one, doesn't matter. Grade 1, right? Grade 1 Dismal, who would have thought? I ran Sabriz, still relevant. I ran a pair of, well, let's see here. First of all, I ran Stark, MVP in a few games. Just really good card. Pressures more than I ever realize it's going to pressure. I just do it. It's pretty amazing. Progenitor, I ran a few of this card. This card reminds me of Deleter. It helps get your not needing to stride online. And it's actually a first good stride if you can get there. Running 4 of this and 4 of this helps you to have the same card as what your Vanguard is so that you can actually use these. Yeah, so running this. I like this card, I never used it. I hung out on Stark a lot, and so I would never really get up to GB8. My opponent might be at GB8, but the nice thing about this card in this deck is you actually are binding their cards off the field, making open circles so that this becomes more relevant. Pretty interesting in Chaos Breaker, after you've ridden a certain card here, or strode, I should say, a certain card here. I still have Amnesty in here. Amnesty can become relevant if you're locking down all your cards, using like Lactus Carina, for example. It's good against the mirror match, which, you know, Messiah Premium could still be a thing, right? And now that the ban list is out, Chaos, definitely. I mean, I have my Chaos built. I have it upgraded, so been playing around with and without the Cyber Dragon Ride Chain. I actually strode this. I haven't strode this card 3 years? I can't remember the last time I strode this card. It was a long time ago. But Big Crunch was actually relevant in here. It was helpful. That Omega Lock's really nice. I was able to just shut down a column for a few turns. And then the last card that I've gone up to 4 copies is Avalanche. So getting back to Chaos with Avalanche, it's interesting because you now switch it to where you're going to bind all those cards that unlock. You're not going to be able to gain from it using, you know, Crisis or Breaker, Chaos Breaker, Dragon, the original, to like draw cards, but you're going to bind their whole field. And so with that, you can then set up for things like Alt Wilder, for example. And not only that, you can set up for things like Igorg if you wanted to. And I'm not running Igorg because it's not a Deleter build. This is a Brandt build, Brandt Premium. Who would have thought, right? So, had a lot of fun with this deck. Again, this was a dry run. This is not a video of a deck that did stellar. This is more of a theory crafting and then using regional as a playtesting environment amongst people that I've never played against before, amongst decks that, you know, I've never seen those exact variants before because I'm playing against a group that's not my locals. And again, I was pretty happy with what I was seeing. Definitely needs tweaks, I think, in the right hands. this could do potentially a lot better. And I'm going to be working on it. I think I may at my locals just take the main deck minus this card, of course, and try it out. Instead of doing delete or bind, I do Brandt bind. I think it's could be pretty strong. In that case, I probably would go back to, well, I definitely have to remove these. So I put in, I could put in more crits, maybe a few draws. We'll see. A few cards that I would add. I did want to thank the vendors for having Ibuki. I was able to get up to my 4. I've had 2 for a while. Did want to thank Bushiroad Premium and Standard. By the luck of the draw, I got Force 1. Of course, they only have Force 1, Excel 1, Protect 1, right? But these are day 1 and day 2. So that was pretty cool. That was kind of a highlight, if I could, call anything a highlight. That was pretty cool. Was able to get my Lucci shiny. Up to this point, all my friends could tell you that I've always been running Draco Kid. Reminds me of Cyber Dragon's Chaos Breaker, but now that I've got a shiny, why not, right? I ran downstairs Saturday night. It must have been 7:30. Fortunately, the vendors were still open because they were still playing Standard, and I was able to get 3 more Brandt. When I had designed this deck, I only had the 1. I had 4 of these because I've been teching these into things like Messiah and Deleter. It's a really amazing card in Standard. But this, fortunately, they had 2 of the original art, which I really love, and they had an extra here, and they actually had more, but I was able to get my playset to play the next day. Unfortunately, they didn't have the box toppers or any versions of Dismal and Ractome or any of this. I mean, why would they, right? But now, like I said, as I've come home, I've adjusted this a little bit, and at least in theory, I'm a lot more happy with it, the way it's gonna run. I will say, the one card before taking off here to go get dinner, the one card I'm seriously considering putting in is this guy right here, okay? This card, think about it, premium, you have Pentadrive, sure, you're gonna keep 2 cards. Enough said. So anyhow, I hope you guys like the deck profile. I hope you find it interesting. I had a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of fun playing premium, and always have fun at Bushiroad events. And got to meet some really cool people, and I hope to talk to you guys all soon. I will be bringing you more new Batama material in the future. Take care.